Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into a story that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood screenplay. It's a tale of two vastly different men. One had absolutely everything you could ever need to become unfathomably wealthy: elite education, powerful connections, inside knowledge, the whole shebang. The other guy? Well, he had a broom and a minimum wage paycheck. But by the end of their lives, their fortunes took a twist so shocking, it completely upends how we think about success. We're going to uncover the ultimate secret to building true wealth, and I promise you, it's really not what you think. So let's just dive right into it. What do you think actually matters more for accumulating wealth? A prestigious Harvard MBA or a humble broom? It sounds like a joke, right? Like, no way. But as we go through this, you'll see exactly why everything you think you know about getting rich might actually be completely backwards. To figure out why, we need to meet our first main character. Act 1. The Genius. Let me introduce you to Richard Fiscone. If you were casting a movie about Wall Street, Richard is your guy. Total apex predator of the financial world. I mean, the guy was a textbook genius, Harvard-educated, MBA, massively successful partner and executive at the financial heavyweight Merrill Lynch. His own CEO praised his amazing business savvy and sound judgment. He was hitting all those prestigious lists, like Crane's 40 Under 40. In fact, he was so phenomenally successful that he literally retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. He had unparalleled financial knowledge. And, he had the lifestyle to match. And this retirement, we're talking an 18,000 square foot mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. Get this, 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 7 garages, and not one, but 2 pools. It was costing him more than 90 grand a month just to keep the lights on and the grass cut. He even built this crazy indoor pool with a see-through cover over it, so his guests could literally dine and dance right over the water. It was a lifestyle built on extreme leverage and, frankly, a massive ego. But hold that image in your head because we're going to take a sharp left turn here. Welcome to Act 2, The Janitor. Enter Ronald Read. Now, if Richard was the absolute top 1%, Ronald was, well, he was the ultimate underdog. Born in rural Vermont to a poor farming family during the Great Depression, the guy hitchhiked to campus just to be the first person in his family to ever graduate high school, and his career, just a little different than Merrill Lynch. He fixed cars at a local gas station for 25 years. After that, he spent another 17 years sweeping floors as a part-time janitor at JCPenney. He lived a fiercely frugal life. We're talking chopping his own firewood well into his 90s, and friends actually recall him using safety pins to hold his worn-out coat together. The contrast in their daily lives is just wild. On one hand, you've got Richard throwing millions into expanding a $32 million mega mansion. On the other, Ronald is living in this modest little 2-bedroom house he bought for just $12,000 back when he was 38. And he stayed in that exact same house for his entire life, even after losing his wife at age 50. Two guys living on completely different planets financially. Until the year 2014, when their paths kind of crash into each other in the headlines. Which brings us to Act 3, the paradox. This is the cinematic twist where the rules of the game just flip upside down. Let's track how this went down. Mid-2000s, Richard, our Wall Street genius, is borrowing heavily, taking on massive debt to expand his estate. Then, boom, the 2008 financial crisis hits. And despite the Harvard degree, despite all that elite inside knowledge, his extreme leverage just crushed him. All that high debt and illiquid assets ruined him. He literally had to stand in front of a bankruptcy judge and say, "I currently have no income." By 2014, his dream mansion is being sold off in a foreclosure auction for pennies on the dollar. And in that exact same year, 2014, Ronald Read, our humble janitor, peacefully passes away at age 92. But here is the massive twist. When they opened Ronald's will, $8 million. The quiet guy fixing cars and sweeping floors left behind a net worth of nearly $8 million. To put that into perspective, out of the millions of Americans who passed away that year, fewer than 4,000 had a net worth that high. It's just insane. And he didn't just hoard it either. As his estate revealed, he left a cool $2 million to his stepkids and friends. But the rest? $6 million went straight back into his community. $4.8 million to the local hospital and $1.2 million to the local library, which, fun fact, is where he used to sit and quietly read the Wall Street Journal. This unassuming guy basically became one of the biggest philanthropists in Vermont's history. You can imagine the reaction. People who knew him were completely baffled. Where on earth did he get all that money? The guy's coat was held together by safety pins. Was it a secret inheritance? Did he win the lottery? Nope.
So here's the real secret, the final act, the psychology of money.
Let's actually pop the hood on this and look at the mechanics of how a guy with a broom mathematically and psychologically beats a guy with a Harvard MBA. Ronald's secret weapon wasn't inside information or some complex algorithm. It was literally just time. Time in the market. That beautiful upward curve of compounding interest over decades. He just planted the seeds and let the math do the heavy lifting while he went about his life.
And his strategy? Honestly, it's almost shockingly boring. First, he lived way, way below his means, saving whatever pennies he could from those minimum wage jobs. Second, he bought blue-chip dividend stocks. Not crazy speculative tech fads. We're talking about 95 rock-solid, boring companies he understood, like Procter & Gamble and Smuckers. Third, whenever those companies paid a dividend, he religiously reinvested it right back into buying more shares. And finally, he just waited, patiently, for decades.
And this right here is the core takeaway. When you put time and patience up against leverage and ego, time and patience win, hands down. Ronald had zero ego. He had absolutely no need to show off to anybody. Richard, for all his certified genius, let his desire for social status and his reliance on extreme debt completely wreck his life. Author Morgan Housel actually summed this up perfectly. Ronald Read was patient. Richard Fuscone was greedy. That's it. That is literally all it took to completely wipe out the massive education and experience gap between those two men. It proves that when it comes to money, how you behave is infinitely more important than how smart you are. So I want to leave you with a thought and honestly a bit of a challenge. When you look at your own financial habits, you really have to ask yourself, is your ego getting in the way of your compounding potential? Are you spending cash just to show people you have cash? Or are you quietly building real wealth in the background? Being a genius doesn't guarantee a thing, but mastering your own behavior, that just might be the actual secret. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope this story shifts how you look at your own financial journey. See you next time.